Hi YouTube, this is RipWifer13, and I'm going to very poorly explain to you how to put new cab corners in on your truck. Step 1. Take the good corner off of your donor cab with a really big pair of scissors, and make sure it's big enough to cover the crappy part on your old cab. Step 2. Take your scissors and cut the bad part off of the old cab. Step 3. Use your big metal glue gun to glue the new part where the old part should have been. You can see behind me, that Hobart is the brand of big metal glue gun that my husband uses. Step 4, make sure you look really busy so your wife won't ask you to do other things like laundry or dishes or feeding the kids. Step 5, get yourself a nice cold drink from McDonald's and take a break. Step 6, make sure that your electric glue gun is shooting some mixture of electricity and fire. Make sure it's doing what it's supposed to do. Step 7. Once you trace around the whole piece with your big electric glue gun, you're done. So paint it, kiss it, take it on a date, do whatever. Just as long as shop safety is your #1 priority.
I said I was going to do undercoating next, but I think that I'd be better off if I did these corners first. I have to get these inside corners and these outside corners. These are all rotten. As you can see, it's deformed. This was the reason that I was planning on doing the undercoating, getting it on the frame, and then repairing these while they're on the truck, so I don't have to take the risk of deforming the corners again. But I think that it'd be more thorough. I think it'd be better if I just go ahead and do it right now. So I've got this is cleaned down to bare metal. On a side note, the stripper discs, pick them up at Lowe's or Home Depot, work awesome. They don't get the metal too hot, they don't damage the metal at all, they just take the paint right off. So I'm going to end up using one of those to strip all of this because this was too thin. I didn't want to risk damaging it with the sandblasting. So I'm thinking that my best, as you can see, I've got a much larger panel than I need, but I'm thinking that my best aim of attack or plan of attack is going to be to remove as little as possible. So I'm going to come in somewhere around here and bring it on around and cut this portion off. That should give me access to get to the inner piece, so I can repair that from the inside and then put this piece back on. That's the plan. Quite frankly, I've been putting this off for a while because it scares the crap out of me. This is intimidating, but gotta do it, so it needs to get done. The way I see it, the less I remove, the better off I'm going to be. I can always cut off more later if I need to. bad corner damage here, which allowed all this rust to get in here, or all this water and stuff to get in here in the first place. I have to take all this, grind this off, clean all this out. And I'll get in there with some phosphoric acid, shoot the inside of this and clean it out real well. See if I got enough to be able to get up in here. So as you can see, despite the best efforts to get rid of all the rust, there's still a bunch down in here. So, and right up in here, this is where this thing attaches. That way I can get into here and clean all this stuff out. And I'm going to go ahead and remove this, the rest of this corner, and my new piece will just wrap completely around it. No, I have not done my hair yet. I had coffee and I came outside to work on this. I ran out of acid, so I'm going to run to the hardware store real quick, pick up some acid, and if they've got some stripper discs, I'm going to go ahead and grab some of those too. There's a bump right there. Never talked to the owner though. Never seen it move either. Worked out, but it didn't. They have the OSFO, but they don't have these stripper discs. So I'm gonna have to go to, say, Home Depot. All right, so I'm working my way around this corner here, and I've been kind of peeling the metal back. I ground it down and cut myself. Ground the metal down so I can peel this off and I can retain all of this. And then I've cut my patch panel to go up into this area, and that'll allow me to get a little bit higher to work on this inside panel. And I straightened this out right here to try to keep as much of this, as much of this shape as I'm able to. So you can see the rust isn't so bad. It just looks nasty right here. I'm going to wire wheel all of this out. I brushed it a lot, and I'm going to wire wheel it, and then I'll hit it with phosphoric acid. I went and got some OSFO. I decided that I didn't need the stripper discs all that bad just yet. I'm not at that point, but so I just came back. Decided I'm just going to get this cleaned out instead. So I'm going to trim right here, and I'll likely end up taking this up a little bit higher, and I'll match it to my patch panel. I trimmed it down a little bit, and it's still just a little big. But that way I can get up a little bit higher, and I can get more repair done on that inside panel in here. So I didn't show myself doing this, and it's not going to fit because I got a little piece of metal right there, but basically this is I've got it marked in two spots. I can put this in there, and I can match the corner when it goes back on. So I make sure that I've got a template, and this is the passenger side that's marked up, and then I've got two marks up here that I know I'm not going to be cutting into, so I can line all this up, and then I can keep my outer radius so I know that my door and everything's going to fit properly. Here's that panel. I got all this metal is out of the way. This is still here, but it's out of the way. And then this lines up along the bottom. where it is. So I'm gonna come across, I'm gonna mark the top of this, trying to figure out where exactly I want to make my cut at. But if I come in up here, this will give me more room to work with the metal underneath here. So that's what I'm trying to do, is I'm trying to expose as much of this as possible and replace this panel with, I don't want to just, if I can avoid it, I don't want to avoid, or I don't want to just come along and right in here. I'd rather replace the whole piece. Or more complete repair. So what I'll do is I'll mark this off. Get that to fit in there. Mark that off, and I'm going to cut below it, and I'll just grind until I get it where I need to go. This is the patch panel that I cut out of the donor cab, and what I wanted to do is I just wanted to get it just barely high enough that I could actually try to replace this whole panel. I can spot weld it in there. And if you look, I've got this cut right here. If I cut straight up, there's a it's right in here. I can cut right through here, cut that piece off, and then weld this piece in, and it'll make this a lot easier. And then I've got my final fitment. This piece is really, really, really close. Been grinding it, smoothing it. It's really close now to being where it needs to be. But I can't do final fitment. See, that was really, really close. But I can't do final fitment until I get this inner piece in. And then I'll fine tune this one and get it in there permanently. Got my patch panel. It's ready to go. I've trimmed it up. It'll fit right up in there. And it'll weld to the top in there. And along the sides here, I've got fairly clean. I've got the loose big pieces of rust are cleaned out in there. I've got it nice and good and clean. So what I'm going to end up doing is I'm going to spray this all down with the acid, and I'll let it sit. I put down a drip pan, which is the old floor pan, because the acid will eat the concrete. I'll let this sit for a little bit. In here, I'm not so worried about it. Here, I'll clean it off. I'll put down some epoxy, and I'm just going to brush it on. I'm just going to throw some epoxy on this and some epoxy in there, mark out my spot welds, and then weld it in. So first thing I'm going to do is get this in acid. The way I use it is I just use it in a spray bottle. Get everything back. You don't want to breathe this fumes in. You can see in some of these spots where it's instantly reacting. Get it nice and deep in there. Normally I just let it sit, but considering this right here, I'm going to agitate it a little bit. I'm going to agitate it, kind of knock some of this stuff loose, get down there and soak into the metal. Alright, so I've got my donor piece. The inside is in epoxy. Outside's still bare, but the inside's in epoxy. This is in epoxy, and then I wire wheeled the little areas where all my spot welds are going to be. Right in there. That's shaping up nice, turning black like it's supposed to. So I'm going to see about getting this plate welded in real quick. I'll start by lining it up in this corner. Know where it's supposed to go. Knock it tight into this back panel here. With this roughly spotted in, I'm not going to fill this gap in yet. I'm going to wait until I get the other panel on also, and then I'll fill it all in one shot, and then I can smooth and blend this corner. A lot of people say how these aftermarket panels, they don't fit all that well, or they're a little off. This is not an aftermarket panel. This came from the same year truck as this one is, 68 or 69. It's original Ford stamping. It's not 100%. I've had to kind of tweak it to fit also. But anyway, I've got it tacked up in here. I'm gonna go ahead and finish up all these spot welds. I'm gonna get these completely burned in, and then I'm gonna start working on fitting. All right, so I've been fitting this, adjusting it, hammering it, grinding it, fiddling with it some more, refitting it. Been at this for a little while now. I've got this where I need it. So come around. I'm just going to have to work this little by little over here, but I've got it so everything lines up and it fits in. It looks like it's a little off right now, but because of this piece. That lines up perfect. Let's get this. This edge in right there, and then right there, and you see all these, this crease and everything is all lining up. So I think that's good. And then this will line up whenever this will all line up whenever I get this back in here. So we're good to go. Just a matter of tacking it in place and then working it over. Been tacking this in, got it welded up mostly right there. I still have to go around the bottom here, but I've got this, all of these pieces, it's flush, it fits perfect where it's supposed to. Right here, this part is a little out in relation to this part, and I can't quite get it. I mean, it's 1/16 of an inch, a 32nd of an inch. I mean, It's so close, but I can't quite get it down, so I'm going to try to fill that in with a little bit of weld and blend that in as best I can. And of course it's going to take this little skim coat to get this perfect, but I'm going to just kind of work my way between these tacks and work my way down here and fill in these spot welds right here too, and I'll fill this in. So little by little, just filling them in. And I still haven't touched these spot welds down here yet. But just tack, 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 tack. It's lined up. You can see those lines. Everything fits perfect. Very happy with that. That's awesome. So just let the metal cool and then get back to it again. I just got to go really slow because I don't want this to get too hot. Got it all filled in. Pretty sure there's some pinholes or something that I'm missing, but I think for the most part it's in. I've got all spot welded and I just need to clean these up. So I'm going to hit this with a flat disc, but I'm going to be very, very, very careful. As I've already learned, you can ruin a perfect welding job by grinding it. Not saying that this is a perfect welding job, but so I just want to take the tops down and get it as close as I can without thinning out the metal. Okay, so there it is. Completely welded on, it's smoothed out. It's going to take a little skim coat to get it perfect. I was able to fill in this little spot right here. But a skim coat on there with some body filler and it'll be perfect. There it is on the inside. There's a couple pinholes. Okay, so now it's really in. I fixed all the pinholes. There's no light from the outside coming in. What I did was I hit a couple on the inside here. I figured I'd minimize grinding. And then I came out here and I just popped those little tiny, where the little welds were. I popped in there real quick, just a shot. And that worked. So it's nice and smooth. A little bit of skim coat on there. The inside, it's all new. So, very happy with that. I was scared to death to do it, but got it done. So that's all that matters. Okay, so the next video really will be undercoating because I'm going to do the other corner off camera. I'll get that taken care of and then undercoat.